In today's sacred sharing, we'll listen to a deep conversation from 7th January 1935, where a devotee sincerely asks questions about the path of self-realization, and Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi graciously replies with clarity, depth, and compassion. Through these timeless words, Maharshi reveals the power of the Master's grace, the nature of obstacles like Vasanas, and the direct way to know the Self that shines beyond waking, dream, and sleep states of consciousness. May these teachings guide your heart inward towards the ever-present Self, the pure screen on which all of life appears. The devotee asked, "Is a master necessary for realization?" Ramana Maharshi replied, "The realization is the result of the master's grace, more than teachings, lectures, meditation, etc. They are only secondary aids, whereas the former is the primary and the essential cause." The devotee asked, "What are the obstacles which hinder realization of the Self?" Ramana Maharshi said, "They are habits of mind, means Vasanas." The devotee asked, "How to overcome the mental habits?" Ramana Maharshi answered, "By realizing the Self." The devotee said, "That is a vicious circle." Ramana Maharshi replied, "It is the ego which raises such difficulties, creating obstacles, and then suffers from the perplexity of apparent paradoxes. Find out who makes the enquiries, and the Self will be found." The devotee asked, "What are the aids of realization?" Ramana Maharshi said, "The teachings of the scriptures and of realized souls." The devotee asked, "Can such teachings be discussions, lectures, and meditations?" Ramana Maharshi replied, "Yes, all these are only secondary aids, whereas the essential is the Master's grace." The devotee asked, "How long will it take for one to get that?" Ramana Maharshi said, "Why do you desire to know?" The devotee replied, "To give me hope." Ramana Maharshi answered, "Even such a desire is an obstacle. The Self is ever there. There is nothing without it. Be the Self, and the desires and doubts will disappear. Such Self is the witness in sleep, dream, and waking states of existence. These states belong to the ego. The Self transcends even the ego. Did you not exist in sleep? Did you know then that you were asleep or unaware of the world? It is only in the waking state that you describe the experience of sleep as being unawareness. Therefore, the consciousness when asleep is the same as that when awake. If you know what this waking consciousness is, you will know the consciousness which witnesses all the three states. Such consciousness could be found by seeking the consciousness as it was in sleep." The devotee said, "In that case, I fall asleep." Ramana Maharshi replied, "No harm." The devotee said, "It is a blank." Ramana Maharshi asked, "For whom is the blank? Find out. You cannot deny yourself at any time. The self is ever there and continues in all states." The devotee asked, "Should I remain as if in sleep and be watchful at the same time?" The Ramana Maharshi replied, "Yes, watchfulness is the waking state. Therefore, the state will not be one of sleep, but sleepless sleep. If you go the way of your thoughts, you will be carried away by them, and you will find yourself in an endless maze." The devotee said, "So then I must go back, tracing the source of thoughts." Ramana Maharshi said, "Quite so. In that way, the thoughts will disappear and the self alone will remain. In fact, there is no inside or outside for the self. They are also projections of the ego. The self is pure and absolute." The devotee asked, "It is understood intellectually only. Is not intellect the help for realization?" Maharishi replied, "Yes, up to a certain stage. Even so, realize that the self transcends the intellect. The latter must itself vanish to reach the self." The devotee asked, "Does my realization help others?" Ramana Maharshi said, "Yes, certainly. It is the best help possible. But there are no others to be helped. For a realized being sees the self just like a goldsmith estimating the gold in various jewels. When you identify yourself with the body, then only the forms and shapes are there. But when you transcend your body, the others disappear along with your body consciousness." The devotee asked, "Is it so with plants, trees, etc.?" Ramana Maharshi replied, "Do they exist at all apart from the self? Find it out. You think that you see them. The thought is projected out from yourself. Find out where from it rises. Thoughts will cease to rise, and the self alone will remain." The devotee said, "I understand theoretically, but they are still there." Ramana Maharshi said, "Yes, it is like a cinema show. There is the light on the screen, and the shadows fleeting across impress the audience as the enactment of some piece. Similarly, also will it be if in the same play an audience also is shown. The seer, the seen, will then only be the screen. Apply it to yourself. You are the screen. The self has created the ego. The ego has its accretions of thoughts, which are displayed as the world, the trees, plants, etc., of which you are asking. In reality, all these are nothing but the self. If you see the self, the same will be found to be all, everywhere and always. Nothing but the self exists." The devotee said, "Yes, I still understand only theoretically, yet the answers are simple and beautiful and convincing. Ramana Maharshi replied, even the thought I do not realize is a hindrance. In fact, the self alone is.